Hello, everyone. Welcome to In the Making, a series of conversations from North Bennett Street School where we connect with a range of voices, fields, and perspectives. Before we introduce our guest tonight, I want to recognize and thank the Dora Foundation and Eaton Vance for making this program possible. My name is Rob O'Dwyer, Director of Admissions for the full-time accredited career training programs here at North Bennett Street School. I'll be your host tonight, and I have the honor of introducing our guests, who are all graduates of the Carpentry program. We have Xiomara Garcia, Richard Yoo, Braima Massaquoi, and hopefully Ali Muhammad will be joining us shortly. So everyone, I'd like to ask each of you to introduce yourselves, and if you would please share with us what you were doing before North Bennett Street School. What attracted you to a career in modern residential construction, and what might have been the driver for this change? And if we can please start with Xiomara.
Hi, everyone. So before I was at NBSS, and I recently graduated, I graduated in July of 2020. But before that graduation, I was working at Youth Build Boston. I was a recruiter. I was searching for students who wanted an alternative route to graduating. And part of that experience was also learning some carpentry. And my time with Youth Build Boston was about 3 years long. And at the end of my time there, I was a liaison for this high school in Roxbury called the Margarita Muñez Academy. And a lot of the students that came from there were Spanish speakers. I was one of the only Spanish speakers that worked at Youth Build Boston. So I got to work alongside them. I was in the wood workshops. I was building projects with them. I was, really excited about what we were doing. And I realized that inspired me more than sitting at my desk. After a year and a half, I followed through with the application process, and I started my journey at NBSS, where I got to meet Richard, and I got to meet Ali, and through the work that we've done, I've got to meet Braima, and it's been an awesome experience. At the moment, I am a substitute carpenter teacher at NBSS. And so I've been kind of going through the process again, but in a different lens, and it's been pretty exciting. Yeah, that's me right now.
Thank you. Richard, how about yourself?
Hi, everyone. I'm Richard Yoo. So prior to coming to North Bennett Street, I was working as a project manager for a commercial construction company. The focus of that company was building lab spaces for the biopharmaceutical industry here in Boston. And so I was project managing these large buildings, but I would just, sit in my construction trailer, look out the window, and I always wanted to be one of those guys with the tool belt on. And so the driver for me really, ironically, was COVID. I don't think I would have pulled the trigger unless it happened, but everything came to a halt, and I contacted Rob, and I was a last minute admission to North Bennett, and the rest is history. The program was amazing, and now immediately upon graduation, I just started my own company, Cephas Development LLC. And I'm just doing a one-man show, just doing minor residential renovation construction right now. But works aplenty, and I already foresee us expanding here shortly.
That's great, Richard. Thank you. And Braima, I know you graduated a few years ago, and if I recall correctly, when you first contacted the school, I think you were deployed in another country. Will you share with us your background, how you came to North Bennett, and what you were doing beforehand?
Yes, I was deployed. I was actually in Afghanistan at the time when I reached out to you and to set up one of my first meetings. And then when I finally got back, I met with you, and happened just like Richard. I pretty much just got in at the last minute. So prior to that, though, I actually was working in the construction field, and but I was working. It wasn't work from really work. I was kind of working on and off for myself, and then but I wanted to actually sharpen my skills, sharpen my sword, as they say, and that's when I decided while I was overseas that, hey, you know what, I'm gonna take that leap and I'm gonna apply to NBSS, and that's when I reached out to you, and yeah, it.
Cool. I think I remember you sharing some photographs because I think you were working training the Afghan army to build barracks and things like that. Is that right?
Yes, I was part of what they called um ETT or or which is more so like embedded training team, and so it was a 10-man team, and we trained them in basic carpentry, you know, from soup to nuts on how to actually just build structures, and we stood up what was the first engineer unit in regional South Afghanistan.
Cool. Thank you. If we could, would you all just share your thoughts about transitioning from what you were doing before North Bennett Street School, and what adjustments that you had to make in order to make the commitment to the training, and maybe I'm sure some things seemed obvious, but if you could share some things that maybe didn't seem obvious to you as well. And we'll start with you, Richard, please.
Transition as I went into the program, correct? Into the carpentry.
Yeah. Yep.
You know, it for me, the transition was really smooth. You know, one day I was, you know, the day before the first day of school, I was, you know, just working. It was my last day at my old job, and the very next day I was a student at North Bennett in the carpentry program. So, you know, the transition was so seamless. You know, Kristen took care of all our tools, and she was really great and corresponding with what we needed. I really didn't feel like there was any sort of a transition period. I will say though that just to kind of like get myself ready mentally to become a student again, that was a bit strange. I hadn't been a student for a bit at that point, but you know, just to get back into a classroom environment and have Peter and Brock lecturing up front, it was nice. It was awesome. But you know, it was it was a great transition, great experience.
Cool. Thank you, Richard. Braima, what about yourself?
Transitioning wasn't hard, but it was kind of cool because I was part of that first class in the new building,
Right.
And so it was only like 14 or 15 of us in the class. Our instructor, Brian Vogue, we were his first set of students because he was a new instructor. So it was as we like to say in the military, like drinking from a fire hose. So we're just all learning as we go along. So not only is Brian teaching us, you know, carpentry and all his, you know, many years of skills, he's also learning to be an instructor to all these people, and and while at the same time we're learning to be students, because just like Richard, a lot of us, you know, we're returning back to school for the first time, and our ages vary because we have everything from guys who just getting out of high school to individuals who are transitioning from other areas of a work field and just trying to do something totally different, you know, and that made for an amazing and very at times crazy dynamic.
So Braima, I think your class was the class that did all the wainscoting around all the borders inside the program. Is that true?
Yes, it was our class.
Cool.
Yep.
And I was surprised because I feel like it was like within 2 weeks of the start, this stuff was like going up and getting primed and painted. It was pretty wild.
And, you know, and that was kind of cool because as most builders understand, is like, as a craftsman, we love leaving our stamp. We consider, at least I know for myself, I consider that my stamp on a place. So it's like, even now, if I drive by a project, I'm like, yeah, I did that. I was there. I did that one. I worked with that one. And 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 it's kind of like one of those things where that you're just like, you know, I know for I don't know how long that the wainscoting is going to be there, you know. So a part of myself and my class is going to be in NBSS.
Cool. Yeah, and I know a lot of the students would sign their works even on the shelves, in the storage shelves in the back. Like so
Yes.
many things are built out by the students and then signed as well. So it looks like Ali is joining us. I don't know if Ali, if you can turn some video on and get your mute off there. I'd love to introduce you to our audience here.
Oh, hi guys, how you doing?
Well, I'm glad you could join us, Ali. We really just started, and I was asking everyone here if they would introduce themselves and just share a little bit about their backgrounds, of what you were doing before. So I'll put that question out to you if you don't mind just jumping right in and sharing your story of what you were doing before, how you found the school, and go ahead, please, Ali.
So what I was doing before I was just trying to go from job to job so I could, you know, how do I put it? Like be able to fund my own schooling, basically. And so I didn't want anybody to pay for my school, this, that, or anything like that. So before I had my goal in mind, I knew I wanted to be a carpenter since like 14. So I had my goal. I just needed to basically, well, my goal at the time was a union. So I was like, let me work as much as I can, save up money, and like just fully invest myself into union carpentry at the time. So up until then, I was just working like crazy, and then eventually we stumbled up onto North Bennett Street School. We, as in me and my dad. I was super excited. Yeah, and that's pretty much it. Long story short, I mean.
Cool. And if I remember right, Ali, I feel like one of the things I enjoyed about your candidacy is that you're homeschooled. And I feel like people that have a homeschool experience can sometimes transition to the kind of training we have at North Bennett Street School easier. I don't want to make assumptions about everybody, but I just feel like there sometimes can be an openness to homeschooling. Will you talk to us a little bit about that?
For homeschooling, for me, homeschooling was a little bit different. Like, I was very much comfortable in my own space. So studying by myself is kind of my thing. So being in a school environment like this with, you know, 17 other people, to me, it was a big class. I'm like, yo, there's a ton of people here, 17. Oh my goodness. Like, it was crazy. But one thing I liked about North Bennett Street School so much was like everybody there was super welcoming and, you know, very, very calm, chill, open to basically everybody. So even though it was a very new and uncomfortable experience for me, I didn't have that much trouble opening up.
That's great. Thank you, Ali. And you sort of answered what our second question was about transitioning was like. And so I'm gonna ask Xiomara to talk a little bit about her experience in transitioning from what she was doing beforehand to coming to North Bennett Street School, please.
So I kind of have to ditto what Richard said. I had a very seamless kind of transition. My contract with Youth Built Boston was ending at the end of October, and we were starting school at the beginning of November. So it was beautiful how it worked out. I worked that last Friday, then I was in school, I think that Monday, Tuesday, and from there, the rest is history, honestly. Working with Peter and Brock, they were outstanding teachers. They are outstanding teachers. Like Ali said, everybody was super welcoming. There wasn't a really big hard transition. thankfully, the way that I was able to pay for school was through scholarships and applying for the Mike Rose Foundation and getting that. And so that helped support me through my time at NBSS. And from there, I was able to get a side job with Ollie and Braima, and that was a nice kind of, cushion for all of the things that you have to pay for in life, because life is expensive. But it was also a really fun experience, kind of taking everything that we had been learning in the classroom and just applying it. And when we were working together, we were doing a lot of decks. We were doing some finished work, installing some doors and windows. But it was really nice kind of seeing the process of applying things that we did on other projects and applying it to something completely new, and just seeing how everything translated. It was a nice kind of next step. So.
Cool. Thanks, Xiomara. You also, since you mentioned financial aid and scholarship, that was something that I was curious about. I don't know of all of you if you received North Bennett Street School scholarship or third-party funding and possibly used VA benefits, but I wanted to ask everybody if that is your experience and you're willing to share, if you would just share sort of how, if you did get that funding, how did it help you be able to attend? And I mention this because our tuition for the carpentry program is about $26K for the 9 months, about $1,000 for materials, tools are somewhere around $3,000 for the year. And I think it is easy sometimes for people to get some sense of sticker shock. But once you can, if you qualify for financial aid through FAFSA, through North Bennett Street School Scholarship, through third party like Mike Rowe, and then possibly things like veterans benefits, then I think it can become a little bit more realistic. And I would just love it if each of you, if you're willing to share a little bit about what your experience is there. And I'll keep it with you, CO, since you brought the topic up.
So the financial aid process with Mike Rose Foundation Scholarship, that was a process that required a video, required a couple of essays, required kind of pledging to this motto that they have of, the sweat pledge of being committed to the work, being committed to the quality, being committed to following through and, taking your time and, being a tradesperson and really understanding what it means to be a tradesperson. And it was a fun little, application process for the scholarship, the workforce development scholarship that I got through North Bennett. That was, I feel like how I got that was a big support through, you, Rob, as well as the finance department at NBSS kind of helping me through that process as well. And so again, like Ollie said, everybody is so welcoming. Everybody wants to see you at the school. And there's a lot of people to kind of communicate with you to be like, hey, you can do this, you can do that, because the people at NBSS really do want to see this as a reality for the students applying. So that's been my experience. I don't know if I missed any part of that question.
No, that's great. Thank you. Braima, what about yourself?
For me, it was the GI Bill, paid for about a good 60% of it, and then and I think my tuition was a little lower than what everybody's paying now. And then I was able to get a loan through the state, and then I also got some scholarship money through NBSS, which that money actually went to buying more tools that actually helped me get to where I'm at now.
That's great. Thank you. Richard?
Yeah, I also use the GI Bill, but I think unlike Braima, I had 100% of the GI Bill, and so the only out of pocket costs that I had were the $3,000 in tools that I had to shell out for my personal funds. But yeah, I didn't, with the GI Bill, I didn't have to seek outside funding or scholarships or anything like that.
Cool. And I appreciate that you're sharing figures. That wasn't necessarily my intent to get everybody to do that. Ali, if you would share a little bit about your experience with financial aid and scholarship support.
With all that financial aid and scholarship support, that was a completely new experience for me. Yeah, it was nerve-wracking too, because I've never really experienced something like that. Because I am a homeschooled person, so it was a little nerve-wracking. But once I got past it, it was cool. I had the Mike Rowe scholarship, so that was the one you had to make a video of yourself, telling them why you want to do what you do. I got a full ride. Tools were paid for, and yeah, it was a nice experience. It was it definitely took a lot of weight off my shoulders, because I remember having the conversation with my dad. I'm like, we made like a whole budget plan of like how we were gonna do everything, and it was just, yeah. So that definitely took a lot of stress off my shoulders and allowed me to focus solely on schooling and everything. Yeah.
That's good to hear. Thanks, Ali, for sharing. I'd like to talk a little bit about all of your experiences in the program. I know you've all mentioned a few things here and there, but I'm curious about, some of you, Braima, I know you've had previous experience in construction. Xiomara, you were connected to Youth Build. Richard, you did the commercial aspect on the pharmaceutical labs and things like that. And Ali, you've been wanting to be in construction since you were 14. So I'm wondering, sometimes I feel like when you want to do something and you head in a direction and you get there, the things that you thought how it was going to unfold might be a little bit different. So when you were in the program, what kind of things surprised you? What were some of those things? And Richard, I think you were talking a little bit about this even before we went live here.
Yeah, for me, the program was exactly what I was expecting and more, actually. I don't think there was anything that was lacking in terms of what I was expecting from the program. As a matter of fact, the biggest surprise for me was timber framing. I didn't even know what timber framing was. I thought homes were built with dimensional lumber, and I didn't even know what I didn't even know what a mortise and tenon was until I joined the program. I was like, this is really cool, but I don't think I'm ever going to use this. Like, when am I ever going to build anything that's a timber frame? Lo and behold, I graduated from the program, and my second project, the second client that I've had ever, he asks me to build a pergola. And then in the initial meet conversation, he said, "Hey, can we timber frame this? Like, are you familiar with how to, do any timber framing?" I was like, I've only done it once in my program, but I think I could do this. It's not complicated. This wasn't a complicated structure. It was 4 posts and some pergola rafters. And so, with the help of the client himself, because he wanted to get involved, we just knocked it out in 2 weeks, and it was awesome. And so, going back to your original question, everything I was expecting and more, it was just awesome program for me.
Cool. And I wanted to, one of the things you mentioned earlier was that going through the experience, you learned what you liked and what you didn't like. Could you talk about that for just a sec?
Oh yeah. That was probably the most valuable takeaway for me in the program, because I didn't have, other than managing construction projects, I had no hands-on experience. I didn't know the difference between an impact driver and a drill. And so, you know, I was as green as they came. And, but the most valuable thing for me from the program was identifying what I liked, what I enjoyed, and what I disliked. And interestingly enough, I think I fall in the minority in this case. I did not like trim. I didn't like you know, detailed interior trim molding work. Unlike Bry, that's his thing. For me, timber framing, rough carpentry, that's where I live and breathe. And that, you know, I'm slowly building this reputation in Quincy, at least, as like the deck guy, just within my small circle. And you know, it's because I love just rough framing a timber frame. I mean, excuse me, a deck and pergolas, and you know, I love building a partition wall. I'll frame it all day long, but when you say trim it out, give me crown molding, I'm calling Bry. That's my, you know, I'm running from that. So that was a valuable thing for me in the program, was identifying. I didn't know going in what I didn't like or what I did like, but the program throughout the year, I identified, hey, I'm a rough carpentry guy through and through.
Cool. Thank you, Richard. And since you mentioned Braima, let's hear from you if we can, Braima.
So as much as I do love the finish work, that's actually the part of the program I actually missed, because during the time when that portion of the class was being taught, I had actually got pulled away by my guard unit to do some training, so I wasn't there for that. So, but when I came back, Brian gave me a shotgun style, like, boom, here, this is how you do it type training in like a day where everybody else had like a good amount of time to learn it, and which was still cool because then I went home and I just started just kind of teaching myself everything he taught me in that short little, you know, couple of days. And I like that idea that where, because I really don't like rough framing that much. I'll do it, but it's not my favorite thing to do. Just like with Richard, he loves rough framing. I try to avoid as much as possible. I'll do it if I have to. And but yeah, it's some of the things that I didn't touch prior to going to NBSS. I didn't know what a router was. I walk into a Home Depot or Lowe's, one of those big box stores, and I didn't know what these little things. I didn't know what a router was. I didn't know all these little hand tools, what they really made, a coping saw, things like that. I've seen them time and time again, but never knew what they were. And the beauty of learning what these tools are used for was just, for me, was mind blowing, and was one of those things where I spent a lot of hours just trying to just learn it and master it and be very good at it. I'm still learning. It's a thing. The craft never stops. You never stop learning. Yeah.
Cool.
Hope I answer your question.
That's great. Thank you, Braima. Xiomara, what about yourself? Your experience in the program, what things, you know, were sort of surprises for you? You know, what are your takeaways?
I think I'm going to side with Braima. When I was in the program, I did not like finish work. I did not like cutting miters. There was even a point. Well, my story is kind of different than Braima. I'm sorry. But so when I was at school, I actually had a breakdown, and I'm not going to lie to you. These miters that we were cutting for molding that we were putting up, it broke me down to the point where I did shed a tear over these miters.
Because of the tolerance?
Yeah, because of the tolerance stack up. It's so delicate, especially when you have compound angles and your walls aren't perfectly plumb and leveled. And so I was struggling to get these pieces to come together. And then I was working alongside one of my classmates named Amanda, and she kind of just looked at me and she was like, "It's okay. It's okay." And I was like, "It's not okay." And she's like, "You're crying over wood. It's perfectly fine." And now coming back as a teacher for NBSS, like the first thing that I was doing with my students was building frames, building mitered frames. And it was awesome. When I was working with Braima, we were also doing a lot of picture frames for the borders of decks and stairs. And so I think that kind of, you know, revved up my skills, and I was like, all right, I feel comfortable with this. But it really is the practice of it all that really gets you comfortable with the things that you're not. So
Cool. Thank you, Xiomara. Ali, what about yourself?
Man, the things that surprised me about the, hold on, let me get my thoughts together. Things that surprised me about the program was how, like, okay, let's talk about nails, right? Let's talk about nails. I did not know, like just into like the nitty gritty stuff, like all the different types of nails and fasteners and like all this other stuff that went into it. I'm like, in my head, I'm thinking, okay, you just take any type of nail, any type of screw and just build something with it. You know what I mean? So that's probably like the amount of detail that went into everything. Like we had a I think it was a packet about pencils. And that shook me. I was completely shocked. I was like, I never thought this would be like a thing you get in school, like teaching me about pencils. So it shook me, but I liked it a lot. Probably, okay, now into things that I liked and disliked. I'm very specific with what I dislike. And this is after I got out of school, I figured this out. I don't like doing any type of trim or molding that involves stairs or stair skirts at all. I'll take a pass. Like, and then crown molding, those definitely defeated me. But anything else in carpentry, literally anything else, I love. I get in the zone and try my best to knock it out. And yeah, I love it every day.
I'd love to ask everyone here what your advice might be for people that are thinking of coming in this direction. What after you have had this experience and now that you're out for a little bit, what's the best advice that each of you might be able to give? And I'll stay with you, Ali.
Ooh, the best advice. Put me on the spot. I would say the best advice for me, which I try to apply every day, which one of my instructors, Peter, told me every single day, basically. He's like, yo, just think, he's telling me you can do a lot more than you think you can. And I like carry that mindset, like, especially when you're going through school or anything, like you can do a lot more than you think you can. Like when I started working with Braima, it was like a challenge every day because I'm like, the whole time I'm thinking, yo, what if I mess up this cut? What if I do this wrong, that wrong? But if you keep going, like, yo, there was a point, I think it was like 2 weeks in, until this day, every day I would say, yo, I'm a master carpenter. I'd come and be like, yo, I'm a master carpenter on site. Braima, watch out. And like, just keeping that mindset, pretty much it keeps you going and you will surprise yourself. You'll surprise yourself. So just keep your head up, you know?
Cool. Thank you. Xiomara, what about yourself? What advice do you have for anyone who's thinking of coming in this direction?
I would say be patient with the process, just because you really don't know the outcome of your journey. And so sometimes there might be some highs, sometimes there might be some lows, but at the end, there's always a little light, you know, like that little carrot that kind of keeps you just walking. And so if you just be patient with yourself, be patient with the successes and the failures, you're going to see an outcome. And then from there, you're going to go on to your next journey. So don't worry about it. Just keep your head up and keep moving.
Cool. Thank you. Richard, what about you?
Let's see. For me, I would say just do it. You know, you really have, if you're planning on going into carpentry, you really have two options. It's come to North Bennett or go work for somebody. And I would always tell anybody, go to North Bennett because, the amount of information I think that I picked up within that 9-month course, I don't think I would have picked up in 9 months of working for somebody. As a matter of fact, I know I wouldn't have. Probably would have taken me a few years, maybe. So it was, and there, every single day I left the school thinking that was a really good day. I really learned something that day. I don't think there was ever a day where I came in, I was like, man, that was really pointless. Like I should have just stayed in bed. The program through and through was just amazing. The program, especially right now, is blessed to have 2 amazing instructors. And so, yeah, my advice is to just do it and, make as many contacts as you possibly can, because that network really pays dividends even when you leave.
Cool. Braima, what about you?
2 things. One, if you're a seasoned person in the trade, I would say come in with an open mind and an empty cup. Forget everything that you did and just allow the instructors to truly teach you and pour in their knowledge and their experience for what NBSS is giving you, that level of quality that they're trying to give you. You got to kind of just leave all your old habits, all your other stuff behind you. 2, if you're someone who hasn't been exposed to carpentry and you're new and you feel nervous while you're in the class, just look for the W every single day. Don't worry about the fact that you made mistakes that day or things didn't go right. Just look for the W, because you're gonna get good. Because I can give you a laundry list of stuff that happened to me in the school that in the end, now I look back, I can just laugh because it's nothing to me now. And that's just say, just for those 2 levels, for the experienced person and the unexperienced, just come in just willing, looking for the W, looking for the win every single day.
Cool. That is all excellent advice from each of you, and I'm so grateful. Next, I want to ask, what plans do you all have for your future? And I'll stay with you, Braima.
Wow, that is a big question. I really, right now, like I'm really looking towards growing my company, and I really appreciate the experience that I had in working with both Ali and Xiomara, because they're both of them. I've actually learned a lot in working with those 2, in not just being an owner, but also being able to instruct at the same time, and understand being patient. I understand that there are going to be mistakes, and that's the one thing. If you're somebody who, when you leave the school, if you go start a company right after school and you hire a bunch of people, you have to be patient with them. You got to understand the mistakes going to happen. You got to factor that stuff in and be willing to pour in and help them grow to become those master carpenters that you want in your team. And so for me, that's where I'm at right now. I'm in that growth process where I'm looking to hire people. I'm actually working on getting government contractings right now. So that's pretty much it. Is just continue just growing my company. I know I seem like kind of a tangent. Sorry, I'm a little hyper right now.
No, that's cool. And I feel like you graduated in 2014, so you're out for like maybe 6-7 years now, right?
Yes.
Cool. That's great.
Yeah.
I also feel like it's great to hear that all of you, when I thought of all of you, I feel like just to invite everybody here, it's like kind of extra that everybody knows each other, which I think is a testament to the networking here. I know 3 of you were in the same class, so you couldn't help but meet each other, but cool nevertheless. Go, Braima.
So the one thing I would say that as bad as it, that whole time that I was out up until now, I didn't think about reaching out, because there was many times I was looking for other carpenters, but it's like I forgot that network was there. It was just a matter of happen chance that an email from NBSS happened to come across my my inbox one day, and I was like, wait a minute, NBS has a portal where I can actually put up for job applicants, and here I am going through all that time, because for the longest I've worked with a lot of different people, but you don't get that quality of carpenter that you're going to get from the school. I mean, the people that come in don't come in with the same mindset of quality, of looking for excellence, of looking to do and be at their best on that job site. And that's what I appreciated about working with Ali and Xiomara, because they had that mindset already instilled in them from what the school had taught them. And going forward, I hope I can continue that process of finding new students and bringing them in during a while they're still in school, and giving them where they're working. Because like Ali and Xiomara worked for me on Friday and Saturday, because like they went to school Monday to Thursday, and then Friday and Saturday they would work with me, and I found that amazing, because that right there, you know, I don't know, I can't really find the words, but it was great. To me, it was an amazing experience. I definitely can't wait to do it again. Hopefully next year it'd be Ali being the one teaching.
Cool. Thanks, Braima. Richard, what about yourself? What do you see for your future here? What are you working on?
So upon graduation, I started my own company, Cephas Development. And right now I'm just taking on residential projects, but like Braima, my focus right now is just growing the business. We've been in talks with each other about how we can partner and what are some opportunities we can do to minimize our own overhead costs, but at the same time maximize profit for each other. And so this network has been incredible. Braima has a couple projects in the works where he's thinking about bringing me on, and likewise, I have a potential garage build out that I'm gonna definitely need more manpower, because I'm a one-man show at this point. So we're helping each other. I think that relationship is definitely going to take off and blossom into something huge. I think we're thinking about even federal contracts, government contracts, working in different states. And so, we're ambitious, we're hungry, and we're ready to, take the next step. I think it was an amazing experience to start my own business, and I have no regrets.
Ali, you still with us?
Yeah, I'm still with you.
All right. So tell us about, what are your goals? What are you working on?
So right now, my whole plan is to continue working with Braima. Eventually, I haven't told him, but I'm definitely going to prick his brain. And I do want to get involved in the mocking of prices and the more like business side of the job, because I want to eventually be able to start my own carpentry business and stuff, and be able to flip houses and do things like that. That's my ultimate goal right here. So yeah, I'm definitely going to pick his brains, stay with him for some time. I'm not gonna lie, that's the plan. Stay with him for some time, and then eventually, when I'm prepared, do my own thing. Start my own business.
Cool, that's great. And we're right at about the time to turn it over to questions. I've got a couple of questions here. I'm actually going to take the first one. Were there any people in your class who ended up figuring out over the course of 9 months that they were in the program that carpentry wasn't a good fit for them? Now, that is in some way on me as the admissions person and qualifier. My team and myself, we try and do our best job in making sure that the people that want to come in this direction are fully committed and understand what that is. And then I would say across the board in all the programs, our attrition rates are around 10%. Meaning the people that leave for one reason or another is about 10%. That's on par with most independent schools. And I think, as much as people may want to move in a direction, life happens, whether it's something personal, medical, a change of heart, or a change of mind. Those are all things that happen to people. So I hope that's a decent answer for you. I also saw we had a current student who asked about do you feel like you have the ability to go right into business for yourself after graduation? And I think in a way that's a personal question about what someone's will and experience is. It sounds like Richard has done that. And in some way, I think that that question, I think, has been answered in part as well. And then let me see, as a part of the program, do they teach you about insurance and what you need in that space if you're running your own business? I know we have a business class, but does anyone want to tackle this question as a part of the program? Do they teach you about insurance, what you need in that space if you're running your own business?
Yeah, I'll say that Brian McGrath, if you haven't met him already, he will put on a series of Zoom sessions with professionals towards the end of the school year. I don't know, Rob, he does this every year, right?
Yes.
Yeah, it's absolutely incredible. So like when you're forming your entity, he'll set up one class with actual lawyers from Goodwin. I think it's a major Boston-based law firm, and you know, they have lawyers that come and talk to you for an hour about, you know, do you want an LLC, or do you want a general partnership, or do you want to incorporate as a corporation, a C Corp, an S Corp? You can ask all the questions you want, and there's a series of these business classes. Like one's marketing, one was social media, one was just based on insurance, where they had an insurance brokerage company come out and talk to you about what are the different types of insurance you need. Another one was accounting. They had a personal accountant come and talk to you about, okay, how do you want to set up your business and take care of your accounting? And so it's like a 6 or 7 or 8 part series that Brian will put on for you towards the end of the school year. And yeah, it was really valuable.
Cool. Thank you. CO, do we have you back?
I really hope so. My computer was really not trying to see me succeed. So let me know if you can hear me.
We can hear you loud and clear.
Sounds good. Do you want me to start with a question that I missed?
Yes, my question was, you know, I know that you're a teaching assistant now for the program, which I think is fantastic. It's a great resume builder, right? What are your goals? What would you like to do with this next? And I'm curious because I remember before you came in, you shared with me, and I'm curious if there's a match.
Yeah, so before I came in, I wanted to go back to Youth Build Boston and be a construction manager. I am now realizing that I might have to take a couple more steps before I get there. And so right now, what I see myself potentially doing is trying to be fitted for a program manager role, if not an assistant program manager role. I really want to get into the nitty gritty of, you know, what Ali was saying with the finance, the budgeting, you know, what does it mean to be on a site and be a manager and, you know, communicate with not only the client, but the subcontractors? How do you keep a space running efficiently? And those are the things that really interest me. I do love efficiency, I've noticed. I love to be organized. I love this kind of like, I don't know, I get into a frenzy. And so I want to follow that, you know, frenzy and try to see if I can find a position that really meets that need that I'm trying to fit, especially when I'm on a job site. And so at the moment I am applying, I'm doing some interviews. I'm also going to be transitioning from subbing to doing the TA position on Fridays and Saturdays, but also trying to pick up some side work. Speaking of the alumni network, I've been working alongside Jason McKenzie, who graduated the year before me. And so we are going to be doing some work at the Gibson Museum in Back Bay. And, you know, hopefully that project leads to a bunch more. And I'm excited to see where these next steps go. But yeah, that's where I'm at in terms of where I see myself.
That's great. Anything that I didn't ask or that you, any of you wanted to share before we close out? We're about 5 minutes away from the end of our program here.
I will say that the program at North Bennett Street School is pretty well-rounded. We have a lot of projects that kind of get you to get a taste of the different aspects of construction and different tools, recognitions, as well as kind of throwing you out into the community and engaging with some of the actual construction partners that North Bennett has, and just folks within the community. And I think it's great that we have a website that allows us to kind of connect with each other as well as, with other job postings, because at least with the Gibson Museum, we found that on the job posting at North Bennett Street. And that's how Ali found Braima. That's how I got connected to Braima. And so it's a really great resource. Brian McGrath is also a great resource. Everything that Richard was saying about the classes, the business classes, he sends it to you with worksheets. So if you have graduated, it's always something that you can access. So NBSS really tries to make things accessible, and I really appreciate that.
That's great. Braima, I see you came off mute there. Is there something you wanted to add?
I would say as a business owner, I would say definitely learn systems. Learn to put systems in place to make your job easy, because it's one thing to know the craft, it's another thing to run your business. And to definitely learn how to put modern systems in place, because there's tons of apps, tons of programs out there that are going to help you take the time to be able to actually enjoy working within your business and allowing the business to be able to run itself.
Cool. That's great. We had a couple questions in the Q&A that Richard, thank you very much for typing some answers in there. One of them was about sort of the spectrum of experience that people had coming in. And I think through the conversation, you could understand some people had some or even a lot, and some people didn't have much at all. And we're trying to, we're trying to figure out what is somebody's work ethic, what is their potential during the admissions process. And so I think we're very open to understanding what your candidacy is. And I feel like if I can say the North Bennett Street School is a true learning community. I think when you get there, not only do you learn from your faculty, you learn from your fellow students, and you learn from yourself. That's something that I get to witness in walking around the place, and I'm glad that it's small enough to be able to do that. And then I can see our current student and Richard look like they're networking already, so that's great. And then I just want to wrap up here by saying thank you very much to our guests here, Xiomara Garcia, Braima Massaquoi, Richard Yoo, Ali Muhammad. If anybody in the audience has, if you or your friends need any work, it sounds like we know who likes trim and who likes framing. So pick your person. I'd also like to thank my colleague, Kristen Odell, who is usually the host of In the Making. And she's graciously allowed me to be the host for today. And I'm really glad that I've had the chance to sit and talk with all of the people that I've gotten to work with, and kind of bearing witness to everybody's transformation is something that I really enjoy. It's an honor and a pleasure. And then again, thank you so much to the Dora Foundation, Eaton Vance, for making this program possible. This is In the Making. Good night, everyone. Thank you for coming.